What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're a first timer here, welcome. We do Jeep things, generally installs and short trips and shows and stuff like that, so be sure to like and subscribe. But today what we're doing is I picked up one of the Access tonneau covers for the Gladiator, so we are going to be putting that in. I'm starting to kind of do a little test fitting and stuff like that, so I'm going to kind of record the process and kind of hopefully make this a how-to video for everybody. So be sure to stick around and we'll walk you through what we're doing to make it work, so stay tuned. All right, so first step here is to get all of these things into the trail rail system. Doesn't look like it's going to go in by itself, so we're going to have to undo all of these and lift up one side at a time to get these in here. One's going to go here, one's going to go either here or here, and then the other one's going to go in the very front up here. So we're going to work on that next. All right, so once you get the bolts undone, then what you're going to do is you're going to figure out where you're going to mount your clamps at. These guys, so there's a spot that goes in the trail rail, a bolt that goes through it, and like a little shim. So once we get that together, I'll kind of show you a little bit more about it. But you put this kind of like Velcro protection material on each one of your spots that you're going to do it. So next thing we're going to do here is get these clamps in place, and then we've got to lift the rack up just a little bit so you can slide it all the way down, because you can't just put it in there. You got to slide it from one end to the other to get it into it, unless maybe your trail rail system has a little bit more of a gap at the end here, which this particular one is the Rebel one and it does not. So we're doing that next. Stay tuned. All right, so that was fun, but we got all the clamps positioned where they need to be for now. I'm still gonna throw that one back in this back corner, but that one you don't have to do anything. Slide her in. So this is all where it needs to be. We're obviously gonna have to re-bolt the rack back down to the trail rail, but the next thing we're gonna do is put some weather stripping along these couple spots here, just so that way we don't have any type of water leakage, or at least try to prevent water leakage as much as possible. So I'll show you that next. All right, so I got the weather stripping on now. So I put it along the edge here, edge over here, and then edge over here, and then did the same thing on the other side. It's essentially kind of just like this stuff. It's as close to a 1/2 inch as I could find at the local hardware store. It was rated at being auto and marine grade, so we'll hope that it holds up pretty well. So next thing we're gonna do now is get the rack bolted back on. So we gotta fish all of these square nuts back to where they belong, and then tighten everything back down. And then the next thing we'll get to doing is mounting the side panels. So we're gonna do that next. All right, so once you get everything bolted back together, then you take the side rails and attach them. There's this little spot here on this one and on this one. These are the back side for the top piece to click on. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of position this in place, which they say that it goes pretty much right even with the edge of the bed. So we're just going to see if I can you hold that? Get these kind of slide up into place. Get them to kind of clamp a little bit. So what I'm gonna do now here is just start tightening them up a little bit, see if we can get it to hold it in place. And then of course we're gonna go back in and mess around with it just a little bit, just to make sure everything is where it needs to be in the end. So we've got to kind of make sure that this actually sits fairly flat, so it's gonna probably take a little bit of messing around a little bit just to get it to be nice and flat. But as you can see, hopefully the weather seal between there kind of fills that gap a little bit, so hopefully there's not as much water intrusion. So, but the main goal that we've got to mess around with now is getting this to be more level. So there is something in the instruction that tells you about adjusting it a little bit, so I'm going to play with that for a moment, and then obviously go around and do the same thing on the other side. Alright, so I got both sides on, got them as level as I can for right now. I might mess around with it a little bit more, but apparently you adjust the height of this clamp a little bit if it's either too high or too low. If it's too far angled downward, you lift the clamp up a little bit more, but for now I got it kind of close, so we're going to see whether maybe putting everything together kind of helps. But both sides are on now, so we're going to grab the tonneau cover. There's a couple bolts in the front on either corner that bolt together, so we're going to do that next. Then you take this bad boy and position it up here in the front. Get it through. And there are some holes up here that you have to mount the bracket through. So it's going to go through here, and there's this thing here, so it's going to bolt in from the bottom side. So I got to roll this over. There is two little rubber L bracket seals that go in the corners, so you just put those in there, and then this should be able to get pretty much wind up in the front here. Now I'm going to have to climb it. Alright, so hopefully we can see. But what you do is there's this little sliding mechanism, and there is a bolt that goes through here. You have to slide this all the way over till it latches just over the edge of this metal bar. Drop the bolt down from the top, and then it goes through, does that on this side, kind of locks it in place and almost holds it level. And then same thing on this side. So then at this point now, should be able to start unrolling the cover, which does have crossbars, and I'm in the way, so it does require a little finagle here and there, it looks like, to get it past the crossbars. And then in the very back here, we're gonna finish putting some of the pieces on so it locks in place. But it does give you the flexibility of adjusting all of that stuff. So. All right, so got it mounted. Probably will tweak it just a little bit if I can here and there, but everything kind of sits nicely along here. I may put a little bit of a rubber seal that goes all the length of this back edge here if I start getting a little bit of water, but there's a little bit of light from the inside. But otherwise, she fits in there, fits nicely. You can kind of see a little bit of that light gap in that front corner, but not as much to that side. So I may do something at some point, but otherwise, closing her up. And now at this point, we've got a bed cover. So thanks for coming along in this journey. I've got another video I'm going to be working on here in a moment of something else that I got recently. So going to do that video then soon. But be sure to like and subscribe, stick around. We've got future Jeep adventures and other installs and things like that coming. So be sure to stick around for those. See you soon.